You know, I've played Football Manager for years now, and I've learned one important lesson. I'm really bad at controlling my temper. I'm talking about being angry in real life, by the way.
Skips past his man. Powering forward here. Steaming forward. Oh, it's gone in!
I tend to get most upset after my team loses a match I was sure we could win.
Sumptuous finish, an absolute joy! So what now? Playing with a lofted away here. Deep cross, largely untroubled. Nice little flick. Oh, super goal!
And I tend to take it out on my players through the team talk. Now, many of you have commented on my videos in the past to say that I shouldn't manage like this, and you know what? You guys are all right. In fact, one of my biggest problems in Football Manager has been my insistence on doing individual talks right after the team talk. You can do this, by the way. I learned that you could do this after watching my assistant manager do it when I handed over the team talk a couple of versions ago. But you don't want to. Trust me, I've been there. You really don't want to do that. You are not going to score a lot of morale points by chewing individual players out in front of the team. In fact, you're not going to win a lot of morale points if you praise other players in front of the team. And you can do a lot of damage to your morale if you're not careful. Really, you're better off just saying nothing. So, what can you do to improve morale in Football Manager? You know, it's the easiest thing to do, but it's also that thing that you just don't want to do. But I'll say it again, the best thing that you can do is nothing. Absolutely nothing. I'm serious. Just have a normal team talk after the match, even if your players blew it. There's nothing wrong with going with what the assistant says. But think about it first, of course. You want to be careful that you don't criticize your players too harshly for losing a match that they weren't really expected to win in the first place. And naturally, you don't want to criticize your players for winning. You want to remain calm and professional, and you want to treat the players with respect. And all the memes aside, that means no bottle throwing. This applies to more than just team talks, by the way. Player fines, for example, are a very powerful tool in Football Manager. Sometimes you will see players become more determined if you fine them for playing poorly. But it's a really bad idea. If they become upset instead of determined, you might lose the entire dressing room before you know it. Okay, you need to understand the concept of consistency in Football Manager to know what to do with players who don't play well. All players have a consistency attribute. It's a numerical rating. It's a hidden attribute, though the coach report will give you a hint. Players who are consistent will largely perform at the height of their current ability during every match. Players who are inconsistent, on the other hand, will be more complicated. You'll see brilliant performances from them mixed with subpar performances, sometimes on a regular basis. My recommendation is to just sell the players that are inconsistent. I mean, realistically, there's nothing you can do to make an inconsistent player suddenly become consistent. There are some people online who will tell you that you can yell at him, you can fine him, but in my experience, that usually just makes them more mad at you. And remember, one bad apple can spoil the bunch. If you know the player is inconsistent, there's really no point in fining him for playing poorly because he can't help it. And if you know the player is consistent, playing poorly is probably a sign that he's not good enough to play at this level. In other words, you should sell the player either way. This touches on that great secret of Football Manager, the thing that makes so many people upset to hear, the thing that gets people in the comment section really upset. The truth is that your tactics are not as important to success as the quality of your players. If you keep losing matches, you really might want to consider getting better players. The other thing to keep in mind is expected playing time. I hate this part of Football Manager, by the way. It's not because it's unrealistic. It's realistic. It's actually well designed. I hate it because it's a chore. It's one more thing that I'm supposed to keep track of that the game makes difficult to keep track of. I'd prefer to buy younger players who just don't expect that much. Anyway, try to keep your star players and important players to a minimum to the extent possible. Keep a bunch of squad players in your squad and mix them in with some regular starters. Trust me, you are better off under-promising and over-delivering than making players upset because they're not playing frequently enough. Oh, and watch out for young players who demand to be treated as stars before they've really proved themselves. I've purchased a whole bunch of these guys in the past. If you don't start them every single game, they'll throw a fit. And the hilarious thing is that then they'll refuse to sign with any other team once you try to sell them. It is a money trap. They are Football Manager gold diggers. The last bit of advice, of course, is to schedule friendlies. I like using friendlies to make money, but that usually means playing against teams that are better than my team. It's a good idea to schedule a bunch of friendlies against extremely obscure local clubs during the season to keep morale up. Why? Because naturally, football players like to beat up on really weak competition. And last but not least is the team meeting. Use this sparingly. In fact, if you don't have to, just don't hold one. It will never go as well as you think it will. Now this is where Football Manager imitates life very well, in my opinion, and you can guess where I'm going with this one. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but at work I despise meetings. But I especially despise meetings that are frequent that have no substance, where we didn't have to have the meeting. The same thing applies to Football Manager. Show your players that you trust them as professionals by letting them do their jobs. And there you have it. Your players will perform much better if you let them do their jobs. As tempting as it is to always intervene, just don't do it. Cohesion will come naturally if you don't rock the boat too much.